Welcome to Gangway Talks, a podcast by Ampelmann Operations. In our second episode, you'll hear from Rob Willemse, manager of the Walk to Work Academy, Ray Vine, manager of the Health, Safety, and Environment Department, and Pop Vibenga, one of our operator trainers from the crewing department, where they'll discuss the role of safety and training our operators offshore.
That was a long time ago. No. How did I first end up in Ampelmann? I was working in a company where Ampelmann did some business with, and a couple of times we were talking, and then there was an opportunity within Ampelmann, and Ampelmann contacted me if I was interested. And when I learned a little bit more about Ampelmann, I was very interested, so I made the move.
Cool.
Yeah. And what about you?
I was actually next door here. I was still studying, and we went to this event for, I think it was about innovation or tech, I don't know anymore. And there was one of the Ampelmanns outside on the quayside here, and there were a lot of recruiters in pink coveralls. So I thought, pink coveralls. So I thought it was a good idea to talk with them, and then, one thing led to the next.
Okay.
Well, it's funny because today exactly I'm working for Ampelmann for 15 years already. So together with Ampelmann. So first on a job.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, it's time flies when you're having fun, eh? So I came from drilling and from drilling offshore stuff, and then Ampelmann came up, and I was very excited because it was a lot of excitement and new stuff and techniques. And, it's a lot of hydraulics, and really enjoyed it to start over here. Yeah.
Should I do the first one?
Yeah, you do the first one now.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the misconceptions people have about what operators actually do?
Oh, the misconceptions, what the operators do. So what they always think that the
Being an operator.
being an operator, well, but
How do you experience it?
well, what they always think that the operators lay back and the feet up and don't do anything and just sit back and relax and see the sunset.
You
But
really think that?
no, not it. But people think.
I mean,
yeah.
do you think that people really think
Yeah,
that?
yeah, well, because but it isn't, because the operators are always busy, so doing maintenance stuff and following other stuff. So they're always busy. So there's a lot of things going on offshore. So
Yeah, to be honest, for me, it's quite the opposite. I think knowing that the operators are more outside in the field and working, and of course I know that they have some hours and then maybe some hours that they're off, but they also have things to do. I always thought that they were very busy. Let's put it that way. Yeah,
well,
that's how I looked at it.
But they are busy, of course, because they are never off, of course.
Yeah.
Once they're operational, they have to be standby, waiting for the next transfer to arrive. So the next job to come. So it could be in 5 minutes, it could be in 5 hours, but they have to be there. So in the meantime, they have to fill up all the time, and they do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was a little triggered by that. You think that everybody thinks the other way around.
No, but I think there are people who think like that.
Yeah.
I also think that people think it's easy to become an operator. I think that's also a big misconception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people think, because it's so easy. It looks easy because you work on a floating hotel sometimes.
Yeah.
So that looks like everything works very good. So it's what you
But
say.
it's actually a lot more complex, right? Because it's not only about driving the Ampelmann. You also have to be a mechanic next to driving it.
Yes.
You also have to be a representative of HSE.
Yeah.
You have to be sometimes a crisis manager. When things go wrong, you have to manage a lot of expectations, manage a lot of people. So there's a lot of different aspects, I think, that people don't see.
But you have to also become part of the crew, because you come on board of a vessel. You're not owning the vessel, so you're a guest on board of a vessel. So there's a lot of cultural stuff going on the ship. So there's a lot of it's a lot of things going on as an operator. So you have to adjust on multiple fronts. So there's a lot of things going on, and also follow the procedures, and also do your stuff and be an operator and be on time and there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
We work in different parts of the country now, and also in the world. So things are changing. So we have to keep an eye on our operators.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we try to show it. I mean, it's difficult to really understand if you've not been there.
Yeah.
It's difficult, right?
That I agree.
So you try to tell the message a lot of times, but I can understand, that it's difficult. I also don't really understand what other people live in their work, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
No, but This is what I also heard. If we have new project owners on board, and they always are surprised that one of the experienced operators know their way on board of a vessel. They know the habits, the places where not to go on board of a vessel or sit on board. These little things.
How to arrange things.
Things, because we become very experienced, but also very how do you call it? As a home, you feel at home on board of a vessel after a couple of while, so you know exactly where to go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we see you have another question.
Yeah, let's.
Gives us another challenge.
Yeah. Do you want to take it, right?
No, take it. Be my guest.
All right, I will take it. All right. How do operators learn to read each other, to know when something is off, before it becomes a risk?
Ooh. To read each other.
To read each other. That's a very good question, because we have so many nationalities working for Ampelmann at the moment, and also with cultures and stuff. So yeah, how do operators learn to read each other?
Well, in a training setting, we always try to teach the guys that they come early on shift.
Yeah.
I mean, as an operator, you work independently a lot, right?
Yeah.
So you're working 12 hours, and your colleague is doing the other 12. So what we teach them is make sure you come 15 minutes early, so that you can, without taking away the rest of your colleague, have a chat about how the day's been going, what's been happening. Because if you just come 1 minute before the shift, the other guy will want to go eat and sleep, so you will lose a lot of
Be on time.
context.
Yeah, be on time and communicate. One of our silver rules: communicate, clear communication.
Ask questions.
Yeah, ask questions. How's the shift? What's going on? Yeah. And also read. Because as an operator, I am also an operator. So if you work closely together, after 4 weeks you know everything about each other. Yeah. So you read each other also, so you can see when something is wrong.
I think that is the question.
Yeah.
But how do you get to know everything if you're only working 12 hours apart from each other?
Yeah, that's true. But still, you have bad weather days, port days, mobilization days. That you still work together. So when you're in 24-hour shift, you still do lunch or breakfast tomorrow in the morning. So you eat, you sleep.
Yeah. So you always try to do that together, even if you're not on shift.
Yeah. You try to sometimes, because you're not working 24 hours a day sometimes, because only when needed. Some projects are very busy, but some projects are not. So you can still have lunch or dinner together or whatever. So when you start your shift, you start with your breakfast or something. So.
And do we teach you in the academy how to learn to read, or is that not? Is this a practical thing?
It is a practical thing.
That,
yeah. But also, we train everybody, of course, to be respectful, of course. Yeah. So we have so many cultures, what I mentioned before. So you have to be respectful, also on board of vessels.
And do within the group you feel, because the end of the question it says risk
to know when something's off before it becomes a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, of course, from my point of view, it's a very interesting one. Yeah. How do you learn to read each other before a risk becomes dangerous? Or and you say we're not training, so it's more you learn each other.
Yeah, but that's why it's so important to do the handover. And when you start your shift, do a clear communication. So do you know exactly what happened previously, so it doesn't become a risk because you are aware of it. So you can take the right steps, follow the procedures.
But I also think it's a little bit about giving feedback in between.
Yeah.
So maybe for an example, your colleague is doing night shift, and you come up on the shift and you see that there's no more diesel in the HPU. Then we teach the operator to give feedback to their back-to-back, like, hey, my shift started and there was no diesel in the tank. This has effect on me, etc., etc., etc. Because if you don't give the feedback, then the back-to-back cannot change the behavior, and if you don't share it, you cannot change it.
That's correct.
So that's what we do teach.
Yeah. And I also see a lot of the question from give your feedback of the project to the operators. Is that the same thing that is taught?
How do you
they have to give feedback?
No, that's at the end of the shift.
Your feedback form?
Yeah, that's at the end of the shift.
Yeah.
So after 4 weeks being offshore, you have to give some feedbacks about your colleague. So what went wrong, or what went good. So to find out, okay, what are the points for the next trip? What can you improve?
And that's what we trained on.
Yeah, it's more like a summary. So during the shift, you talk every day, right? And we teach everybody to give each other feedback when something happens. And then at the end of the shift, you have a form where you can capture everything of your colleague of that whole period.
Yeah.
Because next time you might be with somebody else, or at the end of the year, your manager has to give you a performance rating. So in this way, you kind of share the feedback that it's not lost when you leave the vessel.
Yeah, I like that, but it's a new. I don't know if it was in the academy training, but that it grew there. But
I think it's more done by the crewing team, right?
With the crewing team, because the crewing team also has sometimes no visibility about what they finally do, how they perform. So we like to have some feedback back from the field, so how they are performing and how things are happening. And so they have also some feedback from the field, like, okay, what's happening exactly? So gives them a little bit of view. Yeah.
Shall I pick the card now?
Now you can, it's yours, Roy.
Okay, why did Ampelmann decide to create its own academy instead of outsourcing training?
Well, I know that one. No, so it's actually been interesting because the academy was only started in 2018, the Walk to Work Academy, but we were already giving trainings long before. This morning we were having a chat about it, right?
Yeah.
So in about 2010, we just gave instruction. It wasn't really a training, it was more instruction. Here is this machine, this button does that button does that. Well, have a good shift. Then around 2012 we started making a formal training. I say we, but I wasn't involved back then yet. So the first BOT, the basic operator training, was born. But only in 2018 we started with the academy, which was done from client demand. So we got more and more questions from clients demanding and asking and wanting their people to be trained as operator. And that's when we saw the commercial opportunity to also have an academy that doesn't only train our own people, but also the clients.
And what, did safety also play a role in that? Like, as long as we train operators ourselves, we can train them on a level of safety. This is what we want in a safety perspective as a minimum.
Yeah, that was a long time the how do you say it? The tension between the clients and between Ampelmann. When you have control, you have the feeling that you have safety. And giving away these trainings, there was a feeling of losing the guarantee of safety.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, only operator 2, so that's the operator that standed next to the system, was trained for the client. And piece by piece, more responsibilities were being trained to the clients, but this was indeed a tension. How can we keep safety high while delegating the responsibilities to another company?
Yeah.
Which has been a tension for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I think because we are doing the training ourselves, you can influence it, at least try to influence, and keep the level to a high standard. I mean, we are training client operators to what we want or see for them as safe as possible to operate the system.
Yeah, but the difficult thing in my perspective is that somebody knows how to do something doesn't mean that they will do it.
Yeah.
So we teach people, we teach them the skill and we test if they are capable. And once they are trained and competent, we provide them with a certificate.
Yeah.
But what they do afterwards, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's difficult to train. It's difficult to train people for unexpected situations.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but also external pressure.
yeah, it is.
If the client is demanding something, we teach our operators to be firm and to hold to safety rules.
Yeah.
But once people outside our scope of influence,
how do
we
we
have little
control
to say
that?
about it?
Yeah.
But the machine, it still says on the side, Ampelmann.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe a question that's not on the card, but how are we two competitors with that in the training section?
Well, that's an interesting question, because what you see in the market is that there is no standardization at this moment. This is something that is very high on our wish list.
Yeah.
We see there's no standardization and we are looking for this. But every gangway has their own procedures, every gangway has their own buttons, every gangway has their own features. So there is no one way how gangways work.
Yeah.
And that makes it that every training is different. Now, of course you could say, why would that limit standardization? Because we could still have the same exams, but the content can be different.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we should move towards. But now we see that there is a gap from the training lasting 2 days to the training lasting 30 days.
Yeah.
And it's,
I'm asking it also because I'm not very familiar with the competition. I mean, even my Ampelmann, I've never let's say, driven an Ampelmann, so I'm not, that feeling I do not have, but I have the impression that we are much further and higher, especially in training operators.
Well, let me say it like this: if you see an ex-Ampelmann operator he's on the market, he's been swiftly transferred to our competitors to his competition. Yeah. Because they will love to hire him because he is trained. He's already trained, so on a high level. So
but there's also a risk in training long, because long training is also an expensive training, and you want the training to be fit for purpose. So if somebody is capable after 10 days, you don't want the training to last 20 days, right? So there is a fine line between training a lot and training too much.
Yeah.
So I agree. I like that we put the standard high, but we should also look at what does the market need for training, and how far should we go to deliver competent people.
Yeah, and this is where the on-the-job training kicks in.
I interrupted you with the card, so it was your turn.
It's your turn, Rob.
What makes somebody stand out as a future safety leader during training? That's one for you, I think, Pop.
Well, what stands out? I remember over here, there's one guy, there's a Danish guy, and everybody was working here. And we did a simulation over here, like, okay, somebody was crossing a barrier. And there was a lot of noise and sort of things. And normally we say, okay, you have to stick out your hand and make yourself visible. Okay, stop here, personnel, to cross the barrier. And this person, we shouted so loud, so stop, don't move, stop there, don't cross the barrier. And everybody in the whole hall, everybody was stopped over here. Everybody was like, what's happening? And he said, and later on he became, as a client operator, he became one very solid operator, and also very enthusiastic about our system. And also he was a big fan of the system. And but that stand out as what I could see in the training, how he became, and he was fantastic. So it was good.
Is it trainable, you think? Say leadership?
I'm not sure if leadership will be the correct term, but what I really like, if people can be polite but firm. So I mean, shouting that it's clear is very nice. But when you have to speak up about safety on a daily basis, you also don't want your relationship to break. So you want to be firm. It's like, could you put on your glasses, please? But you don't want to be like, hey, glasses.
I'm interested in the question indeed from during a training. Is it visible during a training? I think that's a very difficult. Well, when I see it, it's not even when we had the HEC week. And people go into the escape room trailer. You put a group of people together, and no matter what group you put together, first it's a little bit chaos, and then you see one person is always automatically sort of
take charge,
becoming the leader. It's not trained.
It happens.
But it's the fun part.
Is it trainable?
Yeah, it is trainable, because sometimes you see it in trainees. So to see also with their past experiences, so they've been growing and also molded into their position that they are now. But sometimes you don't see anything of it, so you already know this is going to be it, so we can't get any more out. But some people have a natural talent, and they know how to use it, and you can see it. So the last time I had a training, there was one person, he was so unbelievable good in all the fronts, and he passed his training very quickly because he was on it, so it made it easy for me.
But you can create situations where in a safe environment you trigger the behavior that you want to see. So for example, a trainer can leave his shoelace untied and then walk with the trainees. And if he sees that the trainee sees and he doesn't speak up, you have something to talk about. Or wearing your glasses too low. If you put it on the point of your nose, it will not protect your eyes. And in that way you can look them in the eye and you know they see, and you kind of put them in a position where it's easy to speak up in a safe environment without risk, and then you make it a step bigger. Every time you make it a step bigger, until a situation where you could, let's say, you talk with the vessel bridge about after the transfer that they share via the radio that there's a fire drill. So everybody on board knows except the trainee. And then in that way you can, in a safe environment, create a scenario where you can test somebody's safety capabilities. So that's something that I think you guys often use during the training.
And that's what we do.
But a lot of, as a trainer, then you try to trigger exactly what Rob tells you, and sometimes you do stupid things and you just wait for the reaction, and then you can help them, and it helps a lot. But sometimes it's easier when I instruct also personnel of the vessel to do some stuff, so I can see the response of the operator. So, and sometimes I ask a crew member, okay, do walk the barrier or try to do something, stand up there, don't wear your glasses or whatever. So you can see the reaction, and then you can help them. And the next time they will not do it again because they already know. So
I was challenging it also a little bit because we're talking here. I don't know if you could say it, but it's also a podcast, and maybe people are going to look at it. And I think a lot of people, especially from my branch, find it very difficult that they say you cannot train leadership. I do not agree. There is a natural part, the natural leaders, but exactly what you are now describing, I think that's also something that we are good in. We try to get that part, especially in the operator side, out. I've been a little bit involved in the basic operator safety training, where you started doing the, how do you call it, role play, like you are now the captain and that was for me a very opening, and they say, wow, we're not only training the skills, but we're also training the soft skills. So
the most difficult part is to start talking. Right? If you get them to start talking, then the rest will come out. But if you see something and you keep your mouth shut, that's the biggest barrier. And then once you start talking, it's every time easier to start talking a second time and a third time. And I think that's most of the time what we try to create, a situation where people just can start talking.
And most of the time it is cultural also. So
100%.
But I think it is also unique for us. To me,
I hope everybody does it like this.
Well, speak out.
I don't know.
We're working a lot of years and a lot of companies on the same field, and it's just a lot of times I've said it already. You should look at the culture. Of course, there's a lot to learn, but there's a very high culture here.
Absolutely.
And these kind of training, I can tell you that not everybody looks at the human factor, and which is the most important.
But also the realization.
Take it in the training.
If you start with training and you also teach them, okay, stop and intervene, it's your right, you have to do that. If you see something, stop it, because then you can prevent something to happen. So stop and intervene. So it's also not for, we have to do something. It's cool. All right.
So,
Mine. Oh, well, we almost explained this one. How do cultural or language difference influence how many people learn safety? So how do cultural or language differences influence how people learn safety?
I remember very well back there on the second floor we had a class with Americans a couple of years ago, and we always talked about if you pass this class, if you pass this training. And this was making them very anxious, so they were very afraid to speak up, because they wanted us to use the word when. So when you pass gives a very different feeling than if you pass. So the next class we started saying when you finish this training, and they were a lot more relaxed and less afraid of not passing the training than when we used the word if. Which was a very, for us, a bit weird thing, because in Dutch you can use that word if you translate it literally, but for them it didn't work.
But also we saw the big difference later on where we start training client operators, because our own operators, they will follow our procedures and they did whatever we asked them to do. But later on we get client operators, so client operators responded differently because they had a different boss, a different captain. So the captain was sometimes demanding to work and they have to say no. And so it was for these persons, it was a big issue to say no to the captain while operating an Ampelmann system. So that was a very big barrier. And
but how did you solve that with those guys?
No, we'll just discuss it. Okay, the captain is master of the vessel, but also you're the master of the Ampelmann. So you decide what's going on, because you're responsible for transferring and making a safe connection, because at the end, transferees, this is what it's all about. You have to be safe. So if it's not safe, you decide if to go or not to go. This is why we train our operators.
I think we have some experience from our side, our department, that the safety reporting from the regions like the Middle East and Asia Pacific were the lowest. That Europe was where we got the most reports, because people dare to report. And when we started looking into that, okay, so what is the reason? It was a cultural reason. They do not dare to speak up, or at least there's a hierarchy. So that was about, I think, 2020. Okay, so how can we approach this? And that is also the good part from Ampelmann. That we can see that is where we go approach it. We've been to Brunei, we've did some training, but what we started was from the HSE side to create trust. Make them trust us in everything. Come to us if you don't want to report it, at least tell it. And then we had a shift, and we are now, I think, 3 years further, and the reporting in Asia Pacific, for instance, is now at the same level as Europe. And one of the things is that we had to overwin the trust that they were not going to be sanctioned, or that it was no finger pointing, which European guys.
Yeah, but I
everybody
think
knows. Okay.
in some cultures it's also more usual that you try to solve the problem within your own team first before you escalate it with reporting. Whereas we want people to report it always separate of escalation. Which is a very different way of working, of course. If you look at, for example, guys coming from oil rigs or from other companies, it's really you fix it in your team, and if it does not work, you escalate.
Yeah, exactly. And but we've been in the training and we talk. What we at least try to do is that even if you already solved it, you have to report it. And what we try to show them is that we have about 80 systems working globally, and you think this is a little problem and you already solved it. But we at headquarters want to see, please report it, because it could be that on that system, and that system, the same thing is happening. You don't know it from each other, but we can see it. Yeah. And I think we do that very well.
But that's the fun part of also being in the field as a trainer, and also to teach people to stand up, to say stop, to say, okay, that's enough, we cannot go anymore. And then also show them how to do it, and also the backup we provide as a company. So if you say no as an operator, we'll back you up because you're trained to make the right decision. So it makes me, it's very good, and also makes me proud to see if somebody steps up and says no to a client or a captain who cannot go. It's
nice that you said it makes me proud.
But I also like it when operators say, okay, right now this is not possible, but let me see what I can do for you. Let me see how I can solve this issue. Because just saying no is easy, but I like it better when people try to make it work and then explore alternatives. Is there another way how I can make this work? Can we position the vessel in a different way? Can we use a different setting? What can I influence to get most out of it?
And this is the result of using an on-the-job training also to help on the field to show the guys what is possible to bring that ship into position, what you just explained. So that's the fun part of being offshore, and also on-the-job training, because then you can see the real force and the power of being there and help these guys with all the experience that what we have to show them, to give them and help them also on it, because they don't have to do it alone anymore. They can still have our trainings and also our help. So
And for us, for the reporting from our department side.
Want to take the next one?
Yes, let's do that.
The other one, we took that one already.
Okay, this is a good one for, how do you turn mistakes into learning moments instead of blame?
Well, I love nothing better than mistakes in training. I mean, the only moment you really prefer to make mistakes during training, because if your trainee does everything perfectly the first time, of course it makes me happy if a trainee does well, but if you make a mistake, you can get most out of it by, then something happens, it doesn't go well. So let's say you're working and one of the components fails. It gives a great opportunity. You can do troubleshooting, you can look for spare parts in the tool container, you can work on writing JSAs, doing toolboxes. There's everything you can learn from something happening. And if the machine just works perfectly and the person makes no mistakes, then I don't want to say it's boring, but
I always tell my trainees, like, every day learning day, because whatever happened, everything is new, everything is
I hope every weird thing happens in the training.
Oh yeah, that's.
But I don't think only training. I mean, where do we learn the most from? From the things that go wrong. The point is, it needs to be out in the open. So that is the only time that you can learn. If you make a mistake but you don't tell anybody about it, you can solve it at that moment, but nobody can learn from it. And I think that's what in this question, what I like about Ampelmann is how fascinating statement. We made like even MT and the W3M. How fascinating! I made a mistake. What can we learn? So then the organization knows. Okay, let's not do that.
Learn by doing. Yeah.
This is the same thing what we tried within the safety department. That please share those moments, the incidents, the unsafe acts, and so don't put them under the rug, because this way it's not only you can learn, but the whole organization can learn. And for me, one of the most important things within our organization is trying to constantly signal that the trends, the things that are coming back, the mistakes that are not, it didn't happen yet, but if it's, because I think one of the best ways to try and manage is to monitor those things and then try and see if you can intervene before they happen. But if they happen and it went wrong, the best learning moment.
But there are also things that you cannot prevent from happening.
No.
So you talk about, I want to prevent things from happening. But,
of course.
But in the end, if you are an operator, I hope that you never get an emergency situation.
No.
But it can happen. And preventing it from happening is not going to teach them to respond better to it.
Yeah.
So then I would really prefer if we can make a situation or a scenario, or if it really happens, that you have an emergency in your training.
Yeah.
Because you want people to be exposed to these problems.
Yeah.
Because the first time you're exposed to something out of the ordinary, your heart rate goes up. Your thinking process, it slows down. And then what are you going to do? You have 3 seconds to decide before you know it.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah, I totally agree. And especially in the training, you are creating it. But I was more talking about that if you make it, and on safety, it could be a lot of money or really something dangerous happened, you put it away. Don't put that away. Share that mistake. Don't be afraid to share. We have a no blame culture. We will never blame you. I think even, it's not that we congratulate you, but no, we got sort of a report and then we give the feedback. Thank you for telling this. Yeah. Because otherwise we could never have acted on it. Yeah. That's what I...
Yeah. No, I understand.
That's outside the training.
Yeah, but it's so much fun because we train so many scenarios during trainings, also starting as an Ampelmann operator. So there's so many things we can train, also simulate.
Yeah.
But once they go offshore, they're surprised nothing is happening. Yeah. Because they stand like, oh, nothing happened, no alarms.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, which is also a danger, right?
It is.
Because we train them with all these scenarios and bells and whistles and alarms, and then you go offshore and it's not that.
It's not happening.
Then you're just, but the machine is working, you are working.
Yeah.
It can feel uneasy.
Yeah,
At least for my first shift, when I went, it felt very uneasy.
Yeah. Because you're trained for the job and then you go offshore and nothing is happening. Yeah. So the guys are like, okay, so we are trained for so many scenarios and know exactly what to do in every scenario. We trained on so many stuff and then nothing is happening. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that can be odd.
Yeah.
Well, this one fits very nicely with the last one. How do you teach people to stay calm when adrenaline spikes?
Oh, wow. Yeah, well,
how do you do it?
Well, I just explained them. There's nothing you can do. The machine will take over because it's built so safe.
I don't agree.
No?
I don't agree. There's many things you can do.
Yeah, you can do, but if something is happening, then you can also start say, yeah, well, okay, what do you?
Well, it's like exposure therapy, right?
Yeah.
So when you have people that have a trauma sometimes, you can go to a therapist and they will kind of put you back and get you going over that moment time and time again, that the physical reaction you have to that situation, it gets less every time. Mm-hmm. But it's the same with this. If you've never heard an alarm and the first time it happens, your adrenaline will spike,
yes.
Your brain will freeze and you don't know what to do. But if you hear it then a second time and a third time and a fourth time, it doesn't become easy, but it becomes easier to do something.
But we train our operators so hard on the procedures and the alarms, they know exactly what to do. And okay, in real-time scenarios could be dangerous or different, but they still know what to do. And if not, the system is still so reliable, it takes care.
But isn't that then the answer to the question? Because how do you train people to stay calm when adrenaline spikes? I think it's repetition of a dangerous situation, or like we do for our emergency response team. Like, the best thing is repetition. Yeah, we learned it in the army. I think also it's a constant rehearsal of something that it nearly becomes automatic. And that is how you keep the calm. And of course, your adrenaline will go up, but you are so familiar to what is happening because you are trained on it.
And of course, the machine does what it needs to do, and we try to make the machine as safe as possible, right? Because we want that if the person freezes, the machine will take away the biggest risks. But reality is so complex, you cannot predict every situation.
You cannot expect the unexpected.
So that's why somebody has to be able to keep on thinking. Somebody has to be able to keep on judging the situation.
What is the hardest scenario to train for, and how do you approach it?
The hardest scenario
To train for.
It must be the communication part.
Yeah.
So speak up against not more the part when you have a client operator who has to say to the captain, we're not going to work, and how to convince them to tell the captain not to do or what.
How can you train for a scenario like that? You're in a position that and we have communication with operators that actually state that they are being pressured by the client, and especially in some regions where the captain is very high in the hierarchy and he thinks that everything he says needs to be done. Yeah, try and train your people to cope with that. They feel the pressure, but they want the job. They want to abide by the procedures, but they're constantly being pushed.
But I would say, isn't the emergency scenario a harder situation? It's something. It almost never happens. It like some operators, they've been working for years and it never happened. And then when it happens, you only have 3 to 5 seconds to make the right call. I think that is a lot more difficult because if you make a mistake, people can get seriously hurt. If the captain is pressuring you and you go along, people can get hurt as well. But in that split second, nobody is in danger. Where in an emergency situation, if you do it wrong, people can get seriously hurt.
Yeah. But then the question is that a hard scenario to train? Because we train on that emergency procedure. We know that this we can do, so many people can go over. We even have an emergency for carrying somebody over, and so but can we train for that
I think if you look to another scenario, like okay, when bad weather is rising and your gringo is stopping, you're at 100%, and the client is demanding that you're going to send him over because you go on off, you're just tipping the maximum or just underneath. So then to what we train our operators, okay, make a decision. You will go or we don't go. We don't say maybe. No, it's yes or no. So that's the biggest challenge, to teach the operators to say no. That's it.
Yeah.
And our gringo system, it helps them, of course. And this is also the base on our trainings to help them to make a decision and also convincing.
But so you feel that communication is more difficult than, let's say, split-second decision?
Yes, because we train them for.
Yeah, but still, training is different than real life.
Yeah, it is.
I agree with Pop. I think the emergency procedure, for instance, is a procedure, known, written. You train on it because then you can act. And I understand it doesn't happen, and then all of a sudden there is the emergency that you have to act on. But we have the tabletop exercise to constantly remind about that procedure. And what we see in people coming to us a lot is the other problem that this is, for instance, something that you say they don't want to report it officially in the channels because people can read it maybe, but they do come to us that there is a captain that's really bullying me, and I have trouble with it. How am I now going to say no, the yes or the no?
Yeah. It's interesting though, but what I find fascinating about it is that situation, it happens very often, or let's say frequent. I hope not often.
Not often.
But the emergency situation, it cannot happen for 2 years. And then it happens, and you have to be on your A level. Yeah. Whereas the communication thing, you would think after years it will become easier.
Yeah.
But then apparently it does not.
I see what you mean.
That's okay.
It happens more often.
Yeah, but also the area differences. I mean, in some areas, captains have a position on board. They feel like to be acting as a dictator or whatever, so they have to be tough, like I don't know, but depending also on the area where you go, how the captain could react.
But is it then in that area also more difficult to learn how to deal with that?
Well, we cannot.
The question is, do we train a lot for that? We train a lot for that emergency procedure, but do we train a lot
We
our
train a lot
people
on-
how to communicate.
On soft skills, we train a lot as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I always had the impression that people find the emergencies more difficult.
No, because we can train the emergencies from A to Z and Z to A. So we can do from all day we can do the trainings. We're on the job training. We can still continue in the scenarios. We can still go for emergencies. But if you come to the decision part, that's the hardest part, to make a decision that in fact to stop the whole the entire vessel, stop the job, because they
Yeah.
know what the expenses are, they know the
Yeah.
pressure. There's 80 guys, big consequences. You have to decide as an operator to stop or go.
But does that not become easier over time?
No, because it's still as an operator, sometimes you still doubt, like, hey, did I make the right decision? The green go, it went down a little bit. Oh, maybe we should have gone.
Yeah.
So as an operator, it's still tough to make a decision, because hey, you want to be there and to make the project work, and that's why the
can
reason
even take it-
Ampelmann.
Fair enough.
You can take it a level up, because often we say we support you, but the moment that they then say we want to do a stop, what do you think? We get the same, exactly the same feelings.
Yeah.
We also know it's for us also, at least, if you also look at the client and the situation and don't very easily say just stop the job. I mean, that's a very easy thing to say.
especially
so you have
when
to take
you're
everything in
far
account.
away.
So I can, from our department side, feel what they also feel. It's a very difficult decision, even from us to back up and then say, I mean, it has to be, all sides have to be looked at. And can you train?
So next question. For you, what does safety mean?
Within Ampelmann.
I think just more in general, safety.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
Okay, what safety means in general, that's...
Should you ask that to an agency manager?
No, it's the reason why I chose this job. I've told it a lot of times. In the military, I learned a certain way of working with people in a small group, where trust, knowledge, communication was the most important thing to get something done. And if you relate that in a military version, it can cost your life if it's not. If I take that back to why I choose this field, this is why I took it in, it's exactly that point. That team, how can you get that team together to trust each other, to talk to each other, to communicate, to decide with each other, and get it in the system that it's important to go home. No casualties, no people, that whole team needs to go home.
But
And
is that exactly the same for, with an Ampelmann?
For me, it's within any company that I would work, that would be the basis. Of course, the cultures where you drop in or where you can start are very different. I've had a lot of different companies where you can. There's a really low standard. I mean, your heart starts bleeding, and you can, because people are not picking up what you are actually standing for. By some companies you can change it because you can get people with you, but there are also people that don't. And then Ampelmann, for me, when I came here, it was a bath in a way that, wow, this level, I don't have to do a lot to get it to the level. So what we can do is grow even more. But if people ask, also on the party, when somebody's birthday, or why do you like, what I always say is that it generally for me is to get everybody home safe. And how you do it is very different. I believe a lot in, you have procedures and you have legislation. Legislation we cannot go about. Procedures are there to help you, but in this area, it's the individual. The procedures can help you, so we need to know, we need to convince the individuals, make them believe in their own safety and the safety of others.
Yeah, but that's
the area.
But safety never stops.
No.
Not even after a shift offshore. Doesn't matter at the office, at home. It never
Exactly.
stops. So it's always around us. So.
But I believe if it's really in your mind,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
also look at your own. I mean, my daughters often get really Because here he comes again. I'm not allowed to stand on the chair to pick the cup.
That's your
no,
point.
but you're not.
They already know they have to watch out because they know, hey, okay, this is the point. This is exactly what you want with safety because then you get everybody's realizing what's happening, what are the dangers.
But if I can see that the culture, that everybody is working together in that manner, like we can see it here in the group, that gives me a much more satisfaction than I could say we have 0 LTI or.
No, I get that. But if I take a look from the perspective from my department, the Walk to Work Academy, I think the focus is a lot more narrow. For us, safety is making sure that every operator that we have trained makes sure that his transfer or her transfer goes in a safe manner. And it's really focused on the individual level of each transfer. And everything we teach around it, it's just to make sure that the transfer is safe.
Yeah.
But then again, our focus is mostly offshore.
Yeah.